Chapter 1, Part 1. Sir Isaac Newton. When you come into any fresh company, observe their humours. Suit your own carriage thereto, by which insinuation you will make their converse more free and open. Let your discourse be more in queries and doubtings than peremptory assertions or disputings, it being the design of travellers to learn, not to teach. Besides, it will persuade your acquaintance that you have the greater esteem of them, and so make them more ready to communicate what they know to you; whereas nothing sooner occasions disrespect and quarrels than peremptoriness. You will find little or no advantage in seeming wiser, or much more ignorant than your company. Seldom discommend anything, though never so bad, or do it but moderately, lest you be unexpectedly forced to an unhandsome retraction. It is safer to commend anything more than is due, than to discommend a thing so much as it deserves, for commendations meet not so often with oppositions, or at least are not usually so ill resented by men that think otherwise, as discommendations. You will insinuate into men's favour by nothing sooner than seeming to approve and commend what they like, but beware of doing it by a comparison. Sir Isaac Newton to one of his pupils. Sir Isaac Newton. An honest farmer, neither rich nor poor, was Isaac Newton. He was married to Harriet Ayscough in February 1642. Both were strong, intelligent, and full of hope. Neither had any education to speak of. They belonged to England's middle class, that oft despised and much ridiculed middle class which is the hope of the world. Accounts still in existence show that their income was £30 a year. It was for them to toil all the week, go to church on Sunday, and twice or thrice in a year attend the village fairs or indulge in a holiday where hard cider played an important part. Isaac had served his 2 years in the army, taken a turn at sea, and got his discharge papers. Now he had married the lass of his choice, and settled down in the little house on an estate in Lincolnshire where his father was born and died. Spring came and the roses clambered over the stone walls. The bobolinks played hide and seek in the waving grass of the meadows. The skylarks sang and poised and soared. The hedgerows grew white with hawthorn blossoms and musical with the chirp of sparrows. The cattle ranged through the fragrant clover, knee-deep in June. Oftentimes the young wife worked with her husband in the fields, or went with him to market. Great plans were laid as to what they would do next year, and the year after, and how they would provide for coming age and grow old together, here among the oaks and the peace and plenty of Lincolnshire. In such a country, with such a climate, it seems as if one could almost make repair equal waste, and thus keep death indefinitely at bay. But all men, even the strongest, are living under a death sentence, with but an indefinite reprieve. And even yet, with all of our science and health, we cannot fully account for those diseases which seemingly pick the very best flower of sinew and strength. Isaac Newton, the strong and rugged farmer, sickened and died in a week. The result of a cold caught when sweaty and standing in a draught, the surgeon explained. The act of God to warn us all of the vanity of life. Acute pneumonia, perhaps, is what we would call it, a fever that burned out the bellows in a week. In such cases the very strength of the man seems to supply fuel for the flames. And so, just as the autumn came with changing leaves, the young wife was left to fight the battle of life alone, alone save for the old, old miracle that her life supported another, a wife, a widow, a mother, all within a year. On Christmas Day the babe was born where most men die, in obscurity. He was so weak and frail that none but the mother believed he would live. The doctor quoted a line from Richard III, "Sent before my time into this breathing world, scarce half made up," and gave the infant into the keeping of an old nurse with an ominous shake of the head, and went his way, absolved. His time was too valuable to waste on such a useless human mite. The persistent words of the mother that the child should not, must not die, possibly had something to do with keeping the breath of life in the puny man-child. The fond mother had given him the name of his father, even before birth. He was to live to do the work that the man now dead had hoped to do, that is, live a long and honest life, and leave the fair acres more valuable than he found them. Such was the inauspicious beginning of what Herbert Spencer declared was the greatest life since Aristotle studied the starry universe. Outside of India, the lot of widows is not especially to be pitied. A widow has beautiful dreams, while the married woman copes with the stern reality. Then no phase of life is really difficult when you accept it, and the memory of a great love lost is always a blessing and a benediction to the one who endures the first cruel shock. The young widow looked after her